Hey Sophia, good job with your case study. I'm going to get into my commentary in a sec, but just as a reminder, your response to the commentary is due at the end of the week. You can do it by video or in writing. In writing, if you do it maximum 2 pages double spaced. If you do it by video, maximum 5 minutes. You could do it Flipgrid or any other way you want. If you do it via Flipgrid, then just be aware other people in class will see it. Um, so. That's it. Okay. And, just to give you a sense, I'll do this in class too, but to give you a sense about how you'd respond to the commentary, you want to just get right in there. Okay. You don't have to give a big introduction or whatever. It'd be something like this, like, thank you for the commentary. The main points I took you to be making in your commentary were boom, boom, boom. Here's my response to those points. Okay. You're going to be concise. And in some ways, me explaining that is the basis for my commentary. And what I mean by that is, for you, the issue is always simplify, simplify, simplify. You're one of the most complex thinkers I've met. I really like that about you. And you're really fun to have as a student for that reason. But as you know, I sometimes seriously, sometimes teasingly, I'm always on your case to simplify. So here's the formal commentary. Okay. So I really liked your case study. And I like the complexity that you have in the case study. You do well to bring in Aristotle, Kant, utilitarianism. You do well to do some outside research by looking at somebody on the other side of the ideological spectrum from AOC, but also somebody who's just on the other side of this particular issue. And you get into various kinds of obligations that are discussed in AOC's initial statement when you talk about the obligation of children that already inhabit the earth. But I'm not 100% clear on exactly what you're arguing for. And so what I would like to hear in your response to my commentary is to start very specifically, like, here is the claim that I am defending. I am arguing against AOC, and specifically, I think what I want to push you to focus on is not against AOC or for AOC, but for or against the claim that we have a moral responsibility to decide to have fewer or no children. And then talk about that. So you get into thinking about the responsibility to the flourishing of children, and you talk about Aristotelianism, and you give a really interesting analysis there, but it gets a little bit tough to follow in terms of what exactly that means about having future children. So, because when we get into AOC's statement, she talks about a responsibility to current children and a responsibility about future children, right? But remember that there's really that actually confuses the issue unnecessarily. If we think just about future children, we now really have two sets of concerns. The concern for those future children, what sort of world are we leaving for them? And therefore, is there anything immoral with bringing a child into a broken world? And you get at that. Let me find the thinker's name. Libby Emmons sort of gets at that, right? That the world's always been flawed. It's not a good argument to argue that there's something immoral about bringing a child into a flawed world. So therefore, that sort of undercuts part, or at least argues or suggests that it undercuts part of AOC's claim. But the other part of her claim, at least possibly, is that the having of children is itself environmentally damaging, and therefore we have a moral responsibility not to have children because they cause environmental damage. So what I'd love to hear from you is you to walk through and say, okay, I'm taking this position vis-a-vis AOC's claim about whether we should have, we have a moral obligation to limit the number of children we decide to have. And I'm going to talk through that based on two things. One, this discussion about are we doing something wrong to our future children by having them, which you've already dealt with a little bit, but make that nice and clear and concise. And two, what are we to make of the argument about how the having of children negatively impacts the planet? And then, based on where you stand on the issue, getting into other arguments that might come to bear on this issue. And what I mean by that is some who think we don't have a reason to limit our number of children might say that there's a sort of autonomy issue here, right? That having children is a fundamental part of what makes us human, and therefore the idea that we have a moral responsibility to deny this aspect of ourselves is wrong. I think that's an interesting way to get at it. I take it that you've sort of done part of that in your case study. On page 3, you talk about, does a child have a right to be born into a society that will promote flourishing by ensuring the health of the environment and not overpopulating the delicately balanced societal age distribution? Yes. So in other words, it seems to be that children should not be brought into an unsustainable world. So that seems to indicate that you are agreeing with AOC's claim, but I just want you to try to err on the side of simplicity here when you walk through these arguments. And one of the hardest assignments I ever had in my life was to have to do a summary of a very large, tough part of text in one page. And I want to help teach you this same lesson by really helping you focus on simplicity. Don't worry about complexity. Don't worry about fancy. Be quick and direct. All right, look forward to it.